This is actually a common criticism that I hear, that a lot of these things were, I guess, written whilst on an acid trip, especially the book of Revelation, the Revelation to John. And people will take the wild imagery in that. And to me, that's a cheap, piffy one-liner that doesn't explain anything about the book itself. And it actually doesn't make any sense, especially knowing what we know about the Revelation to John. And that is, of the 404 verses that are in John's Revelation, over 230 of them have allusions to the Old Testament. That is, they have been taken from the Old Testament. And this isn't a criticism of John's work, because he does something very marvelous with the Old Testament. He weaves these ancient narratives into new work to explain new issues and to explain new times about new issues in the time that they were experiencing. I think Ian Boxall, he is a literary scholar in England, I think, he puts it really perfectly, where he says Revelation to John is not simply a montage of biblical quotations. It is old work rewoven into new detail to explain new events and new stories. And I think that the criticism that perhaps you know some of the Gospels were written on acid trips, well, there isn't anything too fantastical in its imagery that might have somebody suspect that, especially when we know that Luke and Matthew took a heck of a lot of material from Mark, copied almost wholesale, changing bits and pieces to, I guess, shift the theology in the direction they wanted it to go. So yes.
While we can intellectualize about what is the truth and what isn't the truth, don't you think in reality the truth is only our personal concept of what the truth is at any point in consciousness that we happen to be, our spiritual awareness at the time? What more truth can we possibly have?
We can take our conceptions and we can check whether or not they're based on the evidence, whether or not the evidence will stack up for whatever it is that we have in our heads. And that, of course, if we claim to be atheists and skeptics, that is something that we purport to have an affinity towards, is evidence and sound rationale and proper logic, then that's what we ought to be doing to build our thoughts and feelings about, especially when it comes to such touchy but pervasive material like the Bible. It extends so much across the Western world. If we're going to discuss it, it shouldn't just be whatever our current spiritual awareness is. It should be based on the evidence.